Ladies and gentlemen, so today everybody's got to spread the word on this. Not everybody's going to be into this, but you know what? I love the Nintendo 64, so there. That's all I got to say about that. I love the Nintendo 64. But just like many others, I don't necessarily love the controller. One of my controllers anyway has the Gamecube analog stick upgrade, which that's an option you can do, because one of the biggest issues with Nintendo 64 controllers that your analog stick is going to become a little loose over time. It's just a design flaw. That's what's going to happen, and you got to deal with it. Either you can lubricate it, take it apart, clean it up, lube it, or put in a GameCube upgrade stick, or try to find another option, a third-party option. But none of these third parties have ever made a good, Nintendo 64 controller, in my opinion. Enter Retro Fighters, as we are looking at right over here. Next-gen Nintendo 64 controller. So far, as of this recording, there's 169 backers. They have a goal of $13,000. This is not their first foray into creating controllers. They created an NES one, which I have had the pleasure of using in the past, and I thought it was good quality, but myself personally, I have original Nintendo controllers that I prefer, and you can't go wrong. They're simple controllers. But Nintendo 64, on the other hand, the original design, some people look at it as if it was flawed. The trident shape, it's kind of hard to hold, all that kind of jazz. I don't have too difficult of a time, but I always wish it was a little more comfortable and designed a little closer to what we have here. So just kind of pointing her out here, this mimics every button on the original controller. We're just missing that little nub in the middle, the little middle piece of the trident. So in this, we're having a more traditional looking controller. Now, there are third-party controllers out there made by Hori and a few others that people really dig. And there's other options as well that you can use. But in my opinion, and this is my opinion, if you're going to make a Nintendo 64 controller and you are not going to include actual C buttons, shame on you. The controller needs to have C buttons. It cannot have a stick in place of the C buttons. There's a lot of fighters, there's a lot of games that use each individual C button, for a function. Now, if you're using an analog stick, that kind of distracts from using the buttons. So I'm really glad that they got this together and they have C buttons, not a stick or a nub or anything like that, actual C buttons. So then the other thing with the little middle trident piece being missing here, that's where your Z trigger was. So on this controller, the Z button is actually going to be these triggers in the back. So you have your L and R shoulder buttons, and then you have triggers in the back that both take the place of the Z button. So whatever you become more comfortable with, bam, you got it. So I'm thinking, the L button, the shoulder was used in a lot of games, but it wasn't, the most utilized button. So I'm thinking when I get my hands on this controller, I'll probably use the left Z button instead of the right, because the R trigger was used quite a bit more than the L. But with these guys, they've done quality work in the past. So this is honestly, and I would not be promoting this because I'm not a Kickstarter type person. I have never backed a Kickstarter project. Never. This one is the first project I have ever backed because I believe in what they're doing. I know I'm going to get this controller from these guys. Actually, I should get two. I pledged $40. That's the cool thing. The price in this bad boy, $20. That's it. $20. Freaking nuts. Like, that's an awesome price to pay for one of these controllers. And they do have, let me see here. They do have some stretch goals, I believe. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. So $13,000 to get their goal funded to get these controllers out to you guys. They're aiming for November, it looks like. $20,000. They're going to do additional color options. Backers get the vote on the next color option. And then 30,000, they're going to do some limited edition color options. And, I guess more details will come when we get closer to that. This just went live, earlier today or late last night, whatever time zone you're in. And they've got, they're hitting it. I was in the early 20s. I kind of had to look at it and make an account and whatnot. Otherwise I would have been one of the first. But, I'm one of the, in the early 20s as far as backers go. And this is just something I'm really excited for. If you really dig the Nintendo 64 and you want to get another option as far as a controller goes, $20 for this redesigned, modern, next generation Nintendo 64 controller, I don't think you can go wrong. If you're a Nintendo 64 fan, I don't care what anybody says. I love the Nintendo 64. So them making a modern take on this controller, I'm excited. I cannot wait. Wanted to share this with you guys. Throw it out there. Check out their Kickstarter. They're going to hit their goal. I know they're going to hit their goal. But boom, if you have a Nintendo 64 and you want an awesome controller, highly recommend checking out this Kickstarter. Link will be in the description. I'm not being paid or anything like that. I barely just got in contact with them to make sure I can just add like an extra $20 and get 2 controllers. So that's the only real contact that I've had with them. So yeah, that's where it's at. Check this bad boy out. Smash that like button if you could. And I will catch you guys next time. Boom.